Well, what's up, everybody? I appreciate you coming out this early in the morning. I know it's tough. We got about an hour's worth of stuff to get through in about 30 minutes, so bear with us. We're just going to try to push through this and answer as many questions as we can afterwards. I'm sure there's going to be more questions we won't be able to answer. We will be at the happiness bar afterwards to answer any questions, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot. So I'm Joe Pressi. This is Steve Curtis. We're from StPeteDesign. We're from St. Pete, Tampa Bay area. We have a WordPress agency. We specialize in accessibility, audit remediation, teaching, consulting, that type of thing. And we're just going to run through our slides.
Okay, so a little bit about how we got involved in ADA and 508 compliance. Joe and I, the last few years, we attended the NFB, which is the National Federation for the Blind Convention in Orlando. We sat in on some classes for how to surf the web for low vision and blind users, and we were both just really moved and blown away by how difficult it is for sight impaired people to access the internet. They have to really work at it a lot harder than we do, and things that we take for granted every day are just really, really difficult for them. They have to use screen readers, for instance. They have to sometimes use other tools. They have to ask friends to access certain websites because they just don't work. So we decided that at that point it was something that we really wanted to get involved in, and that's why we're here today.
All right, with that, our talk outline is going to be, I'm going to give you some facts about WCAG Section 508. We're going to offer our 11 easy steps for developers that help you become compliant. And then at the end, we're going to give you some developer tools that will also help you become compliant. A few facts. So there were 814 Section 508 lawsuits in 2017, and there was over 2,200 last year. And of that 2,200 lawsuits, they were filed by about 50 different plaintiffs. The majority of them were under the Title III ADA Act, so it's a little gray area that you really were getting sued for Section 508 non-compliance. It was more of a Title III where an individual didn't have full access to a site. There's a little graph right here. You can see the exponential growth in lawsuits when it comes to accessibility. 2015, there was 57. Last year, there was over 2,200. And the two major states for that is Florida and New York. Of the 2,200, about 1,600 was New York, about 600 was Florida, and number 3 spot went to California at about 40. So you can see New York and Florida where it's at. All right, what is Section 508? We got WCAG, it's the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. These are pretty much just the worldwide guidelines that they put together. They put them in 3 different levels, A, AA, AAA, and you can find them at like the W3C. The Section 508 is pretty much the American version of this. It's not quite as intense. The DOJ puts this down, and it's law for government agencies. They basically say that you have to be level A and AA compliant of the WCAG guidelines. Okay, the WCAG guideline handles 4 main ideas. Number 1, perceivable. You're talking alternative text, which are media adaptable, that kind of thing. Then you got operable, which is about keyboard accessibility, because it's not always, we focus on the low vision individuals because that's the biggest group, but it's not always about that. Understandable. You want to make sure your stuff's readable, predictable, and assistive technology can help out. And then robust is the last one. What you want to do is you want to think years down the road. Don't just make something compatible with everything now. Think of where software is going to be 5, 7 years from now, and make sure your software, your site's robust enough to work with that. So with that.
Okay, now we get into the what can you do? All right, so why does Section 508 exist in the first place? That's why. That's not really supposed to be a blank screen. This is This is what low vision users or blind users see when they go to your beautiful website. That big hero image, all of that on here. All of those fonts that your clients spend hours and hours talking to you about, I want this to be just right. I want this color to be just this shade of purple. None of it matters to a blind user. So what we've come up with is 11 easy steps to help you with compliance. All right? And I'm going to sit this here for just a second if anybody wants to take a picture.
I do believe we gave them the slides to upload. I'm not sure where they upload them to, but the slides are available.
They will be under the talk of the WordCamp.
There it is.
Thank you. Okay, so step number one, we should provide alternative text for non-text content. Our clicker is not working too good today. Give me a second here. Okay, so how do you do that? So you enter your alt text and if you are in the admin area, WP admin area of your website, your WordPress website, you can click on a picture in your media files, and up pops the space where you can enter your alt text. Your alt text should be very descriptive. I always like to say what you want to do is try to kind of paint a picture. Think from a low vision, think from someone who can't see the picture itself. How would you describe the picture? This is called Dillard House. It's in Dillard, Georgia. Maybe you would say something like a beautiful field of flowers in Dillard, Georgia, with mountains in the background. Something along those lines. You want to spend about one sentence, one good descriptive sentence, but again, make sure it's really descriptive.
And with Gutenberg, the new Gutenberg update, it allows you to actually take your pictures and specify whether your picture is just decoration or not. It's actually one of the cool things I like about Gutenberg with accessibility. Before you couldn't do that, and what that does, it allows a screener to just skip right over your picture if it's just purely decorative. In the past, you have to go through and you can give that an alt tag.
Okay, number 2, label form elements. Okay, so this is a form, right? Everybody's got a form on their website nowadays. So you would label first name, last name, middle initial, suffix. Maybe the MI would say middle name or something. Be a little more descriptive would be better. Contact form 7. A lot of people are familiar with that. It automatically fills in your label text in the back end. Okay, so makes it a little easy for you. So make sure that you're labeling all of your form elements. That's very important for screen readers. When they're going through the form, they need to be able to tell the user exactly what each field is for. All right. Add manuscript or closed captions for videos, and add audio description for animations. So here's a great example of closed captions. This is my partner here, Joe, and as you can see, these are your closed captions, and I think Joe probably has a little something to say about that, as he's our YouTube in-house guy.
Well, YouTube is really important because the blind community uses this to get the majority of their information because YouTube makes it so easy. Like this, whenever you upload a video, I'm sure everybody here has uploaded a video. YouTube's just by far the easiest. You upload it, gives you a little short, not even a short link, and you put it on the back of your site and you're good to go. The cool thing about YouTube is when you upload your video, you're able to give it closed captions really fast. If it's a large video, I think if it's more than 10 minutes, they take a couple of hours or a day to automatically do the closed caption, but they will automatically do it. You can add manuscript yourself. You can open it up to the front end and allow watchers to chime in and do the manuscripts themselves too. Then you okay it, clear it, and open it up to the front end. But YouTube makes it very, very easy for individuals to get their information. That's why they use it so much. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, did you know of a program that you could use for the closed captions?
No, I recommend YouTube. I know Amazon does offer a service cheat that does transcriptions and stuff like that, but I just use YouTube, and then, so, just because it's the easiest.
Okay. So now we move on to audio descriptions, okay? So what's a good example of an audio description is, this is a great one, the Lion King video. Most of us are hopefully familiar with the Lion King, or a lot of us anyway. The opening of the movie, there is no dialogue. There's just a bunch of animals that are running up a hill towards the top of the hill, and this is a great. We've got a short link to it, but this is a great video with an example of an audio description of what's going on. They say, look at all, there's giraffes, there's lions, rhinoceroses, everything's running towards the top of the hill. It's a beautiful scene. I highly recommend that people check this out if you want a good example of what an audio description is. We always say we're going to play this, and then we never actually hook it up. But this is a good example, this video, okay? Number 4, all right, step 4 out of 11. Ensure your color contrast meets minimum thresholds throughout your website, okay? Your color contrast ratio should be a minimum of 4.5 to 1, with the exception of links and text, they can be 3 to 1, all right? So let's take a look at some bad contrast. How bad does that look? It looks pretty bad to me. I'm sure we've all been on websites like this where it's hard to read certain things, certain parts of the website. Sometimes people even cobble all kinds of bad contrast together. But it's something we're trying to get out there. We can't do that. We have to use good contrast, okay? This isn't for blind users so much as it's for people who are maybe colorblind, so that you can make sure that they have good access to all of your content. All right, and we're moving right along because we're limited for time here. Number 5, make your link text descriptive. All right, so here's a bad example of a link description. Click here. I've done this more times than I could count before I realized that I shouldn't do it. Maybe some of you have too. So don't ever write click here for your link description, because when a screen reader goes over your website and it gets to this point and it said all that the user is going to hear, because again they can't see, is click here. Well, it doesn't tell them where to click. Where are they going? They have no idea. So for an example of a good link description, follow this link to Wikipedia. That's a much better description. Now they know, hey, okay, I clicked this link, I'm going to Wikipedia, not to click here, wherever that is. Okay. And with that, I think we're going to go ahead and pass it over to Joe here.
I just want to say, the alt tag and a link description, I can go to 90% of the websites out there and I can fail you for compliance on those 2 things. I will find pictures without alt tags, and I will find links that just say click here. All right, the color of any content cannot be the only indication of meaning. Again, we're dealing with kind of colorblind individuals here. And this is a good example here. Again, because if you're in the input field and your screen reader's reading you, here on the left, you got required fields are in red, name and email. And that's exactly how the screen reader is going to read it. So it does not emphasize email. So what you want to do is on the right, you say color field, required fields are in the red, and mark with an asterisk, name, email, asterisk. And that's how the screen reader is going to read that. So that tells that individual which input value is required. All right, gotta make sure your font size is at least 18. This is the simplest, easiest thing you can possibly do. Just make sure it's 18. Another odd thing is a lot of assistive technology allows individuals to increase your font size. So while you're building your site, you got to make sure that when that font size is increased, the spacing is correct. Not just for desktop, laptop, but for mobile too, because a lot of times when you increase the font size and you bring it to a mobile, they start overlapping. And that's a failure as well. That's not compliance. You gotta make sure your spacing is correct. All right, error handling. If there's an input error by the user, it must be identified and described in the text explaining the error. You don't want it to go to a different page or anything like that. Do we have an example? Yeah, we got an example here. And of course, you got the title. Title is required. And I just went through and hit OK without filling it out. This is how you want to handle your errors. I added the red box, but a red text comes up. Please review the errors below. Title is required. And that tells the individual where they went wrong. And it allows them to get in there and fill out. This is one of the hardest things to deal with is like contact form, reservation forms. These are the big sticking points that, as far as my knowledge, there's not a reservation plugin out there that's fully compliant. And it has a lot to do with stuff like this, your inputs and the way it responds. So that's a gray area.
A lot of times when we're, and we don't have time for questions right now, we'll take them afterwards. I was just going to quickly say that a lot of times when we're working with websites and remediating them, we have to get rid of plugins because they're not compliant. A lot of times we'll have to tell them, we'll say, hey, you can't use this plugin. And they're like, well, I know this plugin. Well, that's fine, but you're not going to be compliant if you use it. So just keep that in mind.
All right, tab navigation. This is another really important one. Your entire site should be able to be navigated by using only your keyboard. We generally call this tab navigation. If you go to a site and you hit the tab button, you should see a tab focus up in the top left-hand corner, something highlighted showing that's what you're focused on. And as you hit tab, it should slowly scroll down your site. And don't forget about the tab focus. This is hugely important too. Not only does your site have to be navigable by just the keyboard, every time you land on something, it's got to have a tab focus. We either do a little box around it or make it get bigger or something that shows that that's where your tab button is. It's very easy to get lost as you're just tabbing and navigating right through. It's super easy. All right, you must offer flexible time limits, if any, associated with your website. We say don't add time limits, but at the same time, we give WordPress security talks and we say log out idle users, because that's a big thing. And of course, if you're dealing with payments, credit cards, banks, you're gonna automatically be logged out after a certain period of idleness. So we say if you have to have a time limit, make it very easy for that individual to gain more time. Big button pops up, says you're about to expire a time. Click this to add another 30 seconds, another minute, 5 minutes, whatever you want. So if you have to have a time, make it easy for them to get more time. Because it's very frustrating when you're trying to navigate through the site. Remember, you're a low vision user, you're struggling as it is, and to be halfway through the page and for it to just shut down on you, ugh, it's terrible. All right, provide skip navigation links so that users can skip repetitive content such as your menu, nav menus and stuff. We all have these big, beautiful websites that have these amazing drop-down menus up top. They go to all these fantastic pages, and you want all of them front and center, and that's great. So you just have to provide a skip navigation link because the low vision user, every page they go to, they got to navigate through that whole thing if there's no skip links. They just hitting tab, nav, and they're trying to just get through and every page they're gonna have to go through that. And that's not gonna get you sued, but this isn't about that. This is really about helping the end user have a better experience. I think we skipped one stats, like 253 million people in the world are low vision. That's a lot of people that we could help by doing some simple stuff. 253 million? Skip links. Okay, most themes come with skip links nowadays, but if you got an old theme and you just don't want to update, you can always download some plugins. This one we recommend, WordPress Accessibility. We're no affiliation whatsoever. We make nothing off of this. It's just a good plugin. And when you download it, the very first thing is should be skip links. And you just activate that and you're good to go. So no matter what you got, you're good. All right, basically that's our 11 easy steps. I'm going to show you, some software and stuff right after this, but again, this is the 11 easy steps. I want to make this very clear that you can follow every one of these 11 steps to the T, and you still won't be compliant. We could be here for hours and hours and hours talking about compliance. What the purpose of this is, I'm assuming we're all WordPress developers or agencies, that as we're building sites, if we can incorporate these easy steps into our process of building sites, we can make a difference. Our model is one site at a time. We run over a third of the internet, and there's not even a close second. It's up to us, or it's not gonna happen. So we just incorporate the majority of these easy steps into our process. It adds very little time in the beginning. You gotta come back to remediate. It's a totally different ballgame, but if you add this in the beginning, you're golden. All right, now we got some free tools here. We got a user web. This is a great tool. This puts a little plug-in, a little icon on the front of your website, and it allows the end user to increase font size, change contrast ratio, and do a bunch of other stuff. So if there's one plugin I can get you guys to go home and download, if you're not going to remediate or do anything to your site, put this on your site. It can be a plugin. You can get it as a separate piece of software and add it however you want to do it. But this adds an icon, and it is a tremendous help to individuals that are struggling. All right, we got Wally, WA11Y. This is an accessibility toolbox. This helps. When we go through and we run audits on sites, there's no one magic bullet. There's no one software program. There's no one plugin that's going to give you everything you need to know. So we use a hodgepodge of software because a lot of them give you false positives. A lot of them won't read things. So you really got to take everything. But this Wally plugin is a good one on the back end. It's plug in, you put it on the back of your site, puts a little icon as you're editing your pages, and it lets you do a quick accessibility test for each page. It lets you find out where your problems are so you can easily fix it. We got WebAIM. This is just another auditing tool. You can get it as a plugin, or you can go to their site and just type in your URL, and it will spit you out a test. Google Lighthouse. Google's doing good stuff with their development tools. It's just another quick auditing tool. And I like this one just because they rank you. They give you like a 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 100 ranking. And then Web Accessibility Tool, that's ours. It's completely free, but this helps you with your alt tag. It brings all your missing alt tags in one, gives you a contrast ratio, and then we give you a checklist. We go through every single WCAG 2.1 guideline, and I try to get rid of the government speak and just talk English, and it just gives you a list on the back. So that's very useful. You can check that whole list if you're compliant.
Okay, a couple more tools that can help you when we're working on trying to remediate websites. We use screen readers, okay, to actually run through the sites ourselves. I always like to plug NVDA. It's a screen reader that's actually developed by 2 blind developers. I don't know who better to make a screen reader than someone like that. So if you get the chance, check it out. Another one is Chromebox. That's just a simple add-on to Google Chrome. And these two would give you a good idea of what the user experience is like when they're using screen readers. And they're free, which is always a plus.
We're right at the end here. We just added some links, some resources. You got your actual WCAG 2.1 guidelines. Those have been updated. The DOJ was drawing their recommendations, but they did come back at the end of last year, about December 20th, and put in law. It is law for government agencies to be WCAG A and AA compliant. It's law for government. It's not law yet for individuals, but it is for government. Comparison table, WordPress accessibility info, and then down at the bottom, 21st Century Integrated Experience Act. That is the actual law that they put in place. I just want to say something real quick. The lawsuits that have been happening again, it's not because of not being compliant, it's because an individual did not have access to a portion or the entirety of your site. I mean, we are going through lawsuits like crazy. I'm sure a lot of people, Beyonce has just been sued. I mean, we've got Amazon, Rolex, Nike, I mean, big companies you would just think that would be accessible. But there was the littlest function, part of their function of their site that was not accessible. A lot of ends are being sued. So it's happening. So, and again, we will be in the happiness bar afterwards. So we'll take questions until they kick us out. Yes.
Small landlords are being sued after New York, 15 were sued after months. By one plaintiff.
Yes, of the 2,200 lawsuits, it's less than 50 plaintiffs, and it's less than 50. I put 50 because I just wanted to make sure it was a correct stat. It was less than 50. I think of the first 1,700 were done by 28 plaintiffs. It's just like ADA with brick and mortars, you know, but sometimes that's what it takes. That's what it takes to get us all going in the right direction. So, again, if you guys have any questions, please get a card, email me, email us. If you have any questions afterwards, we'd love to help the community. This is how we problem solve. This is how we continue to learn and get involved. And we appreciate your time. I got some cards. I'll give you a card, no problem. Yes, sir.
Do you offer ADA compliance by default when you provide the service, or do you tell them that, you know, the client, hey,
When we were still building websites, we would tell the client about accessibility. You get in that gray area, you don't want to use scare tactics, but you want them to be knowledgeable. So it's that kind of fine area. At this point, we pretty much are just doing, we create software and just do accessibility, and they typically come to us. So hopefully that answers your question. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.